Welcome back to Seriously Funny. If you celebrated anything over the past few weeks, I hope that went swimmingly. And if you celebrate nothing, I hope that you had some great days. Also, when this episode comes out, Happy New Year's. And with New Year's, since I think this podcast is put under the quote self development end quote category, we should talk about these New Year's resolutions. But before that, Playboi Carti released his long-awaited album, Whole Lotta Red. The album was fairly long, like an hour and 4 minutes or something. Very experimental. It was not what I would think that most fans hoped for, at least the people I know. But it wasn't like bad. I liked Benno, Slayer, No Sleep, New Neon Control, Punk Monk, Play Sky, Over, I Love You, I Hate You, Die for Guy, Not Playing, and Feel Like Dying. If you're into experimental sounds and willing to try something new, go give Whole Lotta Red a listen. I will say I prefer Die Lit, but I'm glad that he finally dropped, and I hope that that pattern continues on. So today, like we said, we're going to be talking about these New Year's resolutions, and I think the title says that as well, so no surprise there, hopefully. So setting resolutions. Why do people set resolutions, and when did this start? Societal times. I feel like in society a lot of people just attribute New Year's to new beginnings. New year, new me. That cliche, we like it, and I think that's why most people are setting resolutions, right? It's just something you do. It's normal. That's the thing. And this started like this tradition of setting New Year's resolutions from history.com from about 4,000 years ago from ancient Babylonians. And humans have been doing this a while. They were celebrating the New Year's and that new whatever stuff for about 4,000 years ago. Their like start of the new year was in around our March time though, but they did the New Year's thing. There's also a little bit with age, like how old you are and how likely you are. So a survey said that most resolutions are made by people 45 and younger. And the reason for this probably has to do with life experience, right? Like knowing what matters, knowing what you want and what you don't want. And we'll touch on that more. But yeah, when you're older, it's just New Year's resolutions are dumb. You do what you need to do when you need to do it. It's not about the New Year's. But yeah, new year, right? It's implied, right? We get again those great quotes, new year, new me. I feel like this sounds so incoherent for some reason. Crap. And I don't know. Another reason that people set these resolutions may just be because people want a goal, right? I mean, that makes sense. The purpose of life is creation and evolution, and evolution points towards something, or people are just following a natural inclination to evolve because it is, again, the purpose of life. And so, maybe that's why it is. Maybe people do it because everyone else does it. Maybe people do it because they just want a goal or something to work towards or something. Maybe they just had too many shots of tequila and they feel a little more zealous than they actually are. Who knows, Probably the last one. Hopefully not this year, unless you're doing it alone. Stay in your houses, kids, all right? Still got a virus going on here. That said, vaccine's coming out. Oh yeah, COVID vaccine. We can touch on that for a second. I definitely would love to get it whenever at some point, but I think I'm gonna wait a few months because it is, what are the side effects? This thing got made so quickly and put out so quickly. This usually takes a while, but yeah. So we'll see what happens to people and see how the effects are on people, and then we'll go do that whenever it's recommended or whenever it's given. I think right now it's, health service people are first, and then military, they probably already got it, and then other like defenders, so police and stuff, and then it'll probably trickle down slowly to us common folk here. I know I know one person at least that's gotten it because they work at a hospital, but yeah. Anyways, Why do people give up on their resolutions? So about 34% of people, 35% of people give up on their New Year's resolutions before the end of January, and about like 77% of people give up on their resolutions before the end of the year. About 23% of people are able to like keep them the entire way through. And so why does this happen? They don't really know what they want. So that's one reason. So yeah, people they don't know what they want. And what psychologists say and what science does say is people, they just set these really broad, open goals and resolutions, right? They say, I want to get into shape. Like, how are you going to do that, right? Exercise. Okay, what about your eating? What about this? What about that? When are you going to do that? Like, what's your schedule look like? How many hours of work, how many hours a week do you work? Do you have kids? Do you have a family? Do you have people you need to spend time with? Like, how are you, people just don't, they're not very detailed, but I guess that's a different point than just not knowing what you want. But yeah, people, they set goals and they don't actually know if they care about like what those goals give them. And, trying to do something without wanting that something, or without wanting something that doing that thing gives you. How do I put that in a way that doesn't sound absolutely stupid? If you're trying to do something that has an effect, if you don't actually want that effect, it's going to be really hard to do that thing. It takes a lot of discipline, and most people don't have that. I'm sure some people's New Year's resolution is they want more discipline. We have a podcast on that, episode 29, actually, yeah. Yeah, go give that a listen. Great episode. Anyways, yeah, so, and getting in shape, I think we're going to use that example a lot, because I think it's one of the most common resolutions that people set, or like, actually getting in shape, losing weight, whatever, all with that. And so this, like that statement, not knowing what you want, like I said, it's supported by psychology and science, right? People's goals are not specific enough. And, when you don't know what the goal means, when you don't know why you want to do the goal, again, getting in shape, like what does that mean? And then like, why do you want to get in shape? Like, do you actually have an answer to that question? Like, sure, like intuitively, lives longer, I feel better, whatever. But like, why do you really want to? For me, I exercise just a little bit in the morning, and I'm somewhat conscious of not eating too much. But the reason I do that is because I just kind of want to lose the weight, right? I like the look of a less bulky body. That's just my preference on myself when I look in the mirror. But other people, they just want to feel better, right? Because less weight, you can need more stamina. Your body just functions a little bit better. Some people just mentally feel better, right? So exercising, the endorphins and all the great things that you've probably already heard about at some point. But yeah, people don't flesh out these reasons, like what does it mean, like your resolution, why do you want to like do that? And people just don't really look into that, don't really dig into that. Another reason that people may give up is that they move too fast, right? So it's really rare that you can just get fit or just get in shape. Like it's harder than that. It's hard and not probable that you're just gonna go from going to the gym 0 times a week to going 5 times a week. Like if you haven't gone to the gym at all in the past 4 years, and now you're like, I'm going to go 7 days a week for 2 hours a week, it's probably it's not going to happen, right? So similar to a drug addict, like if you decide to just stop doing the drugs, like cold turkey, it's probably not going to work. And if it does work, there's some serious possible repercussions, like possible death. And that goes with the gym thing too. Like if you just go from not working out at all to working out 2 hours a day for like 7 days a week, your body is not going to like you. It's not going to have a good time. Your body gets used to things and it adapts to ways of living. And if you just completely upturn that, bad things may happen. Like you have to take it slow, watching your health. You have to watch your health when you watch your health. That's weird, but hopefully you get it. But yeah, and then the last reason that I think is that people really just don't like know psychology. There's ways to make habits easier to create. Like there's ways to make habits easier to make, and there's ways not to quit. There's ways to literally hack your brain, hack your neurology on both biological and physiological levels that make it easier to maintain habits, create habits, and continue on and not quit habits. You know, that's, I think, one of the greatest reasons people quit resolutions. They just don't understand the brain, how their brain works, and what to do there. And we'll give some more some tips there right now, and we're gonna talk about my thoughts on these New Year's resolutions. And so I don't know how to feel about New Year's resolutions. Maybe they're a good thing because people try. Maybe it's a bad thing because it makes people okay with making and failing goals. I don't know. My advice, my unsolicited advice, you're listening to this podcast. That's what you're here for, right? Stop making New Year's resolutions. Like that's the genuine, just upfront, my complete opinion, thought, and what I tell the people if they ask me. But yeah, I don't think you should try too hard to do anything. I mean, I support self-growth. Again, this podcast is under that category, and evolution. But pushing yourself to do something without the discipline and not having enough understanding and thought put into the consequences, it's not a great time, and you're likely gonna fail. And either that makes you habituated to failing habits, you become, it's a habit to fail habits, or it makes you feel bad in general, and that's not good either. Neither of those are great. But yeah, I think making these New Year's resolutions, it's come on, don't do them. Again, too much tequila, sober up a little bit, and then think about it a little more, right? It's having enough understanding and thought put into the consequences of doing resolutions. I think that's the most important part of what I said there. But people don't really do that. And so, for the people that say F you, my advice for keeping your resolutions, I'll give you that. And my advice, the science, the research, the things I know. So first of all, take it slow. I mean, like I said, don't go to the gym 7 times a week for 2 hours a day. Try once a week for at least 20 minutes. And then after a month, 2 times a week for 40 minutes or something. Not 40, that's a lot. 2 times a week for 30 minutes. And after another month, 3 times a week, and so on, right? It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. Like, you have time, chill. And psychology, science also supports this. Like, they say people, like, they just set overzealous, it's way too big hurdles and goals, right? And if you're already tubby and you need to go to the gym, good luck jumping over a 50-mile hurdle. Bring the bar down so that you can actually get over it, and then you can get over another one, and then another one. You have to take it slow. And then the next tip is figure out what you actually want. Like we said earlier, know what you want and know what matters. People don't know these things, and so, like, why do you want to set a certain resolution, right? I've been using the gym one because, again, it's a really common one, and so I'm going to continue with that. Why do you want to go to the gym, right? Do you want to be physically healthier? Do you want to look better? Do you want to lift your mood after, like, a long day? Like, what do you want? Like, what exactly do you want? A resolution or doing something, it's very rare that you should try to do something just for doing something, because that doesn't go well. So say money, for example. People just try to make money, and then they realize they have a bunch of money, and then, like, what now? Making money, I don't think, is actually that challenging. If you legitimately just want to make money in life, society is structured in a way where that's not that hard. Especially in capitalistic America, at least. I don't know where anyone else is listening to this from. Capitalistic America has a lot of opportunities, and becoming at least 100,000 per year, like, that's not too bad. It might take a lot of time, like, school. Just go through school. Literally, just go through college, and you'll probably make a decent amount of money in your life. some people can even like just finish high school and just work a simple job and then slowly just get promoted if they're assiduous with it, if they take care of it. Anyways, money podcast. One day, guys. But like, yeah, why do you want to do something? If you don't know, yeah, don't just do something for the sake of doing it. Don't do something because you think it'll give you something. Do something, you want something, and then you do the things you need to do to get that something. Don't do things because you think you want something. I don't know how clearly that's understandable or how cohesive of a statement that is, but I think that's a good topic in itself. Yeah. So chase ends, don't chase means. I guess that's like the simplest way to put it. Also, what do you want, right? So here we go. I just said this. Did I write this twice? Like my first advice, don't make resolutions. Like if you know what you want, you'll naturally evolve towards that if it's what you really want. Like I said, like your life purpose, creation, evolution, like, is going to happen if you figure out what you want rather than just, I'm gonna set this resolution that's empty. It's gonna bear you more fruit. So maybe instead of sitting there thinking about what you're gonna do with your resolution, being inspired about that, sit down and just ask yourself, like, what do I want from life for the next, if you're young, imagining the next 10 years is like crazy. But if you're older, then what do I want from my life in the next 10 years? Maybe you want a certain life for your kids. Maybe you want to do a certain few things yourself. Maybe you want to like just see other cultures and maybe see other places. That's a little hard right now with the Rona, but hopefully that's going to be settled. Hopefully this vaccine is going to work out. But and that means you'll be traveling. And then you also do the things that you're required to do to make enough income to travel and feasibly things will happen by itself if you know what you want. Also, the next advice, understand how habits work. There's a cue, there's a routine, there's a reward. I'll explain that further one day probably, but that's like the basics. Cue, routine, reward. Something says to do something, you do something, and then a reward is provided. So for drugs, you get the urge to do it. That's the cue. Then doing the drug itself is the routine, and the reward is obviously the neurotransmitters that just get shot into your body and brain. That's the reward. So there you go. Yeah, I don't know. Drug examples are really easy when it comes to habits, but don't do drugs, kids. You'll die. 100% of all people that do drugs have or will die. That's a fact. Yep. And then let's shoot some quick ones as we get to the end here. The 2-day rule. Don't take off more than 1 day in a row. Matt D'Avella made a great video about this. I really liked it. But yeah, some science and psychology supports that. If you take 1 day off, you'll probably be okay. But as soon as you take the second day off, GG, you probably failed. Like, you're probably not going to do it again. Next, remove obstacles. Make it easy to accomplish habits. Put your running shoes at the foot of your bed. Put your alarm further away so you have to get out of bed to wake up in the morning. Make it easier to do your habits. Structure your life in a way so that it's easier to do something. So for me, there was a time where I'm like, I want to shuffle playing cards more. And so how do I do that? Instead of putting my playing cards where I normally would keep them, I have to keep them in a drier environment so they don't warp. I would keep one deck of playing cards on my table so that it was always there. Like, it was always just there. I didn't have to get up and go get one. So even that one little obstacle of getting up and getting something, like say water, like if you don't have a water bottle and you want to drink more water, it's going to be considerably harder than if you had a water bottle and you want to drink more water, because it's always with you. Like, it's just there. And if you carry your water bottle everywhere, you're going to drink more water naturally. Like, it'll happen. You just have to make it easier for yourself. And that's just simple psychology. I think, where did that come from? That comes from The Happiness Advantage by Shawn Achor. Great book. One of my favorites, if not my favorite. Happiness Advantage and The Fifth Vital. Always fighting. Next, human beings, the most, the greatest predictor of like everything in human flourishing is social relationships. So Get a buddy, have someone who holds you accountable to do things, and also maybe does it with you so you guys can encourage each other. I don't know. Yeah, tell people what you're going to do so that they can hold you to it, and you'll feel embarrassed if you don't do it. And that's a good driver for a lot of people. And also, next, try not to think about it, just do it. You know, the more you think, the less likely you are to do it. Like, you just think about it, and either you think about some excuse or you just think about why you don't need to. Thinking takes time, and you're just not likely to do the thing. I don't have research for this one right now, but that's from my experience, and I think a lot of people would corroborate that, so I'm gonna stand on that one. Next, your excuses are stupid. That's my next advice. Your excuses are absolutely garbage, okay? All the excuses you have are probably completely bullcrap. Unless someone is dying, it's not an excuse. If you fail, accept that and learn from it, okay? Don't make excuses for things. If you didn't do something, ask yourself why, figure that out, write in a journal. That's also a good habit to make. But, your excuses are just stop making excuses, okay? It's bad for you. Again, if someone dies, understandable, funerals are hectic. However, work called in, okay, sure, like there's legitimate things obviously that you have to attend to, but most of the time people aren't attending to legitimate things, and they're just making excuses. Even their work is usually not a legitimate excuse. Like, if you need to do something, you'll do it. It's just how your priorities are lined up. And lastly, the last bit of advice for maintaining, creating good habits and understanding habits: read The Habit Cycle by Charles Duhigg. Really good book. Awesome, amazing book. I'm sure there's an audio book if you're illiterate, because a lot of kids these days are illiterate. So yeah, read The Habit Cycle. That's going to teach you a lot about habits, how they work. It'll go way more in depth into the cue, routine, reward, to talk about that basal ganglia in the brain, which is an area in your brain that does some habit stuff. It's a good time. But yeah, I think that's going to be all. Why do I say I think that's going to be all? This is my show. Anyways, that's going to be all. There we go. Assertive, right? Dominant. Alpha males are fake, by the way. That concept, the guy that made it spent his entire life trying to tell people it was fake. Anyways, whether you have a New Year's resolution or not, I hope you have a terrific year. And if you have resolutions, I hope that you can succeed, and I hope that they're good, great resolutions. Please give this episode a share, especially to the people you do know that have New Year's resolutions, so that they can hopefully gain something. And I also hope that you gain something from this. If you have no resolution, you learned that resolution started about 4,000 years ago from the Babylonians. Yeah, hopefully you got something here. But thank you for listening, and I will see you again next week in 2021, even though this episode is technically released on the first day of 2021. We're just going to ignore that. Much love to all of you. I hope that you had wonderful holidays, and I hope that you have a terrific 2021, and I hope that COVID vaccine works and that all of you can successfully get it. I know America and health insurance is a snafu of a topic, but yeah, much love once more. Thank you for listening. Peace.